there's probably one really true thing about restaurants, you are never alone.
On my signal, unleash hell.
I don't like chaos.
What do you like?
I like this.
Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. Thank you for pushing play on my little podcast. Just a reminder to follow me on socials at Eat Your Content and at Rich Herrera on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, just to make sure you keep up with everything. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, so you can keep up with all the goings-ons with the pod. On today's episode, we are covering the last 4 episodes of The Bear Season 4. We're covering episodes 7 through 10. To cap things off of our Bear episodic recap. And joining me once again, all the way from California, Chef Abbie. Chef Abbie, thanks for being on the pod again. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rich. I'm very excited to be here today. It's our final coverage of season 4. Very excited.
Yes, I'm very excited to cover these last 4. It was. We'll get to the last episode, but I got to tell you, that was probably one of the best single episodes of TV. That very last episode was so good. But before we get there, we got a lot of ground to cover. So let's jump right in. Episode 7 was kind of a long one. It was about 70 minutes. You know, you're used to kind of the 30-minute time frame, but we got a nice long hour-long episode. Yep. We're clocking in at about 70 minutes. And this is taking place at the wedding of Frank and Tiff, Richie's ex-wife. I thought it was pretty interesting. Just an excuse to blow the guest star budget. I mean, you had Josh Hartnett, you had Jamie Lee Curtis, you had Bob Odenkirk, you had Brie Larson as another Fact coming out of the woodwork, playing Franny Fact. That's had this long-standing beef with Suge. Last season we had John Cena as another Fact sibling. But overall, what did you think of episode 7, especially kind of what we came out of episodes 4 through 6 with kind of being Sid centric and everything? Now we got kind of the big gang all back together again. What were your thoughts on this particular episode?
You know, I have so many mixed emotions with this episode. I mean, if you look at it in a point of view of kind of just getting a breather, and I guess that is the episode for you. I mean, I'm really having a hard time with the whole table scene, just because, you know, it's like, how big is the table? I'm just kind of like, really, everybody's there. It was kind of like, oh my gosh, are we really that did this? I mean, I don't want to use the word cheesy, but I mean, I thought it was great. It's fun, but it's like knowing everybody's character. And I guess, you know, people change when you're at a wedding. You know, love is in the air. People are so just different, I guess. But at the same time, I feel so bad for Richie. I mean, I can imagine how hard it is for him to be there, you know?
Yeah.
And kind of just like, I don't know, the whole focus, I think, was, I don't know, Richie, but then Jamie Lee Curtis showed up, and then, you know, and then kind of revealing the fact that, you know, Lee saw him at the funeral. That was a big one for me.
Yeah.
And you know, him and Claire, there's so much going on. And Franny Fact, you know, first time seeing Sugar. There's so much to take in, you know what I mean? So many different angles, so many mixed emotions. I feel like, I mean, it was a great episode. I just cannot put it all in one word, I should say.
Yeah, there was, for me, episode 7 was a lot of suspending of disbelief for a couple of reasons, because I feel like this is somewhat of like the spiritual successor to the Fishes episode. Like, you got the same group of people that in the Fishes episode just literally exploded, like with the final scene of Dee Dee driving through the house in the car. So you got to wonder with Tiff what she was thinking. Like, they make a mention of none of her biological family is at this wedding, so we don't know why. There's no reason given. So she extends the invitation to Richie and the extended family, none of which are really related to her in any way.
Right.
by blood or even by marriage, really. And the
Right.
last time all these people got together was in Fishes, and that went terribly. So you got to wonder what was Tiff thinking? Like, I'm going to invite all these people to my wedding
Mm-hmm.
and not expect something to blow up. But miraculously, everyone's on their best behavior, and there's no major blow ups. Everybody kind of gathers around
Right.
and puts does the best that they can, and um, for this wedding. And you did mention Dee Dee showing up, which not good things happen when she shows up, but she
Right.
has indicated that she's sober, so she hasn't
Right.
been drinking and she's doing really well. And Bob Odenkirk is there with her, and there's a lot of relational loose ends that get kind of tied up in a nice, neat little bow in this
Mm-hmm.
one episode. Like Richie and
Right.
Frank make nice. Franny and Sugar make nice, and then even Bob
Right.
Odenkirk and Carmy, when
Right.
they're talking, they make nice because Carmy is shocked to realize that Lee and Mikey got along at
Right.
towards the end of Mikey's life, especially after the
Right.
Fishes episode. All these things that Carmy wasn't privy to. Um, the under the table scene was kind of, I mean, yeah, that's a big table. I don't know how big that table was to get everybody there. I will say that was an epic selfie at the end, and I hope it
Yes, I
was
saw
like
those. Oh, yeah, I
uh,
saw those selfies. Yeah.
yeah, and but what did you think of everybody being under there and kind of talking about their fears and everything like that?
Like it. I mean, it's like a very therapeutic scene, kind of like bringing everybody's feelings and then kind of just basing it on Ava's, fear of dancing, etc. Um I thought it was great, but I don't know. I think it was a turning point for me as well of how the show is going to evolve. I feel like, I mean to me it's just not realistic. I mean, the whole time they were there, but again, if you base it on that point of view, is this really a show about real chefs, or this is a show about life? So I don't want to be so critical about every single thing that they're doing,
Yeah,
but I can see how people are reacting to that, because I know everybody that's seen that, oh yeah, that was the most ridiculous scene. Like, there's just no way the whole entire wedding, the whole clan was down there, and how big is that table? But anyway, besides that whole thing, I thought it was great. I thought I was actually very emotional when they took that selfie. I
yeah,
mean, just going through the whole, imagining how Carmy was feeling at that point in time, and Richie, his whole family's getting married to another man. um I thought it was great, actually. And the Francine fact, and everybody I think was looking forward to who is Francine fact, because that was the first time they've shown her, right?
yeah.
In
That's the
all the
first time they've shown
episodes. Yeah.
her on screen.
Yes, that's
Everybody
right.
knows who she is, and apparently
Yes,
everybody knows what the
exactly. But
beef's about. But this is
yeah,
our
yeah.
first time seeing her.
Exactly. So I was very happy to put a face, on that name, Francine fact. But yeah, I thought it was a great scene, So, but yeah, sad. I thought it was sad too,
Yeah, yeah. It
because
was a
you can
cute.
sense something is about to happen. When they
Yeah,
do something like that, like, oh wow, everybody's here. Like, shoot, what's next?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that this combustible group of people
Yes.
that love each other but hate each other
Right.
managed not to turn the wedding into a Jerry Springer episode
Yes.
was a Christmas miracle for this wedding. So
Right.
while it did a good job of kind of, like I was saying, tying up some of these emotional loose ends together into a nice little bow,
Yeah.
Dee Dee and Carmy talked and got along. Like there wasn't any kind of major blow up
Yeah. Yeah.
or no smart aleck reactions back and forth. There was no compliment or no insult veiled as a compliment grenade thrown into the room. So
Right.
overall I thought it was
Were you disappointed that nothing dramatic happened? Because I know a lot of people were looking forward to that.
well, like I said, the last time all these people were together was Fishes, so you kind of
Right.
expected something,
Something's gonna
and
blow up. Yeah.
then nothing happened, which I guess is fine. But I
There were
guess they had
moments
to.
there that I thought I was holding on, because when Michelle walked in and asked that $1 million question, "How are you doing?" Isn't that what
Yeah,
the trigger point for Dee Dee? And I'm like, "Oh
yeah,
my gosh, it's about to happen," but it didn't. So yeah, it was very interesting, and also refreshing to see, wow, that's a different point,
Yeah.
that they're trying to show. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was okay. I mean, it was a
Yeah,
cute episode at the end.
yeah,
Everybody's there to
cute, yeah,
support the
for sure,
child and
for sure.
and get through the wedding, and everybody's dancing at the end. So
Right, I
um
like that part, yeah.
yeah, so you kind of, with TV series, when there's a wedding, the weddings are usually the season finale, like everything kind of leads up to the wedding.
Yeah,
So for
yeah,
this to
yeah.
kind of be the pivot point of heading downhill for the rest of the episode in terms of the where we're going as a story was
Hmm.
particularly interesting. But overall, 7 was fine.
Yeah,
It was long, and you got to get all those co-stars in there. So
right.
but yeah, so it was all right. It was all right.
Cool. Yeah.
Episode 8, though, was pretty interesting. So we open up with Sid having a nightmare of a
Oh yeah.
cooking show, similar to the nightmare Carmy had in the first season. Very
Right.
similar. So I saw this, I was like, oh wow, that's a callback.
Right.
And everything, the set's falling apart. There's rain, there's hail, and that scene looked miserable to film. I mean, can you imagine just like getting sprayed on with water for hours
I
trying to get the right
know.
take and
Yeah,
everything?
yeah, 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 for sure. I was thinking about the same thing, and I thought, oh wow, they shot that at a studio, and then I guess some of the scenes too, right? That they're doing that. But yeah, I thought about that too. Like I think she did a really good job.
Yeah,
And
and it really gave you a sense of the stress she was under, right? So that whole dream sequence was very much her stressing of the decision she's having to make between staying with Carmy or going to Shapiro. And then she wakes up from this dream and decides, I'm going to stick with Carmy.
yeah,
And Shapiro did not take that well. I mean, I was like, dude, she said no, calm down. Like he was being a kind of a jerk. I don't know if she kind of saw the writing on the wall of what he was doing, like with the tour, and trying to be like this performative ally to her. It's like, oh yeah, I've seen good hair, and yeah, we're gonna have Afro Caribbean cuisine and all this stuff, and trying to be all those token things that
right, right.
seemed insincere, or if she just didn't want to be there. But what did you think of that conversation between them two? How she finally came to the decision, and then the reaction of Shapiro?
I thought, in my point of view, I thought he was being very nice to her, in fact, because
Oh
it could have
really?
been worse. Oh, yeah.
Oh
Because
wow.
if you really think about it, right, he is from Ever Restaurant. So he's a big time chef as well. However,
Yeah.
Carmi's better than him. But I felt like she also misled him in a lot of ways. And I felt like, he's giving you this restaurant, and you just, and I don't know. And, I feel like he's made a name for himself. I mean, the fact that he's getting all these funding and all that good stuff. I mean, I'm just looking at it at a point in a realistic life, point of view. I felt like he was actually being very nice, and he said some good straight, points there. You're making the biggest mistake of your life, and everybody knows that too. She knows it, but she is attached emotionally to Carmi. And I think he's only speaking professionally of how she can be or could be, as a chef. And I see his point there. But, you know, like I said, I felt like she also kind of gave him this full, freedom for him to talk like that to her, because she was kind of saying, yeah, you're right, et cetera, et cetera, but not very direct to him. But she showed some signs that she was not happy at the bear. I felt like.
So when Shapiro said stuff like, your skill set, you're turning
To
down
me,
an
that's normal.
opportunity. Oh,
Yeah,
so when he said like your skill set's going to stay just above the middle, you're
right.
I was
That's
like,
true. I,
F
I
you,
thought he was.
Shapiro. I was like, dang, man.
I mean, I feel like because he's basing it on how he knows Carmi, right? And everybody knows Carmi will be the boss forever. You're just gonna work under him. So I think he's basing on that fact, because they all worked together at that restaurant in one point in time.
Yeah,
And so he probably thought, you're not gonna grow there. I think, in other words, that's what he's trying to tell her. But in the chef world language, I thought he was being very nice, actually. But he doesn't know the relationship between the both of them, and he
yeah,
doesn't know the evolvement of what's going on at the bear. But I think he assumed that because everybody knows Carmi as a very strong-headed guy, and he will always be the star of the show. But so I felt like, I think that was just normal. And I mean, I guess in my life too, it could be worse. They could literally say, well, you effed up, you just miss a big opportunity, blah blah blah. But I thought he was being very straightforward to her, actually, which is lacking most of the time between Carmy and Sydney. Like, they don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. They get interrupted, or she cannot really articulate herself because he's so overwhelming. So I
Mhm.
thought she needed that.
A dose of
Yeah,
reality. Like
yeah,
you're making a huge mistake, and if you just want to stay
exactly.
average, then stay where you're at.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, he yelled at her that one time, remember, about the ticket when it
Yeah.
just went out, but he also waited forever to apologize, and they just don't know how to talk to each other, but yeah, I thought he was being fair.
Wow.
I
Wow.
would
Because
take
that
it like that, because
because
also it's a big recognition for Sydney to be offered a
yeah.
spot like that. So I don't think she should feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that was the response that she was expecting based on
Yeah.
how she reacted. Because
Right.
I
Yep.
was just like, dang man, he's giving her the business.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah.
But so the rest of the episode is actually fairly low key. I mean,
Yeah.
it was kind of neat to see some little things happening behind the scenes. It's basically a day in the life of pre-service. Everybody's
Yeah.
prepping. I thought it was pretty funny. You had Neil and uh, oh, Neil trying to walk like a serious person, and the rest of he's doing this weird thing with his hands.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. Marcus and Luca are creating a bunch of really delicious desserts.
Yes.
There was one interesting thing with Marcus. He apparently was supposed to meet his dad, and he saw him in the diner and
Ah.
said, Nope, I'm out." So still a lot of I think with Carmy having parental issues with his mom and Marcus having issues with his dad, there's a lot of parental angst with
Sure.
these grown children,
For
the
sure.
grown children of these parents throughout this episode.
For sure.
Um, and then you had Tina finally getting it under 3 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
which was
Yep.
really cool, and she did that because she wasn't trying so hard.
Exactly. I love that. That is the part that I really truly love about that whole scene.
Yeah.
Because she was struggling so hard, and she's really trying her best, and she's really evolved as a chef. And then I thought about how many line cooks were there at night. And if you think about it, it's really only her.
Yeah, it's just her, Sid, Marcus, Luca.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's it. That's it. Running the
Marcus is
line.
doing but before Luca got there, I was like, damn, she's really kicking ass. Like, she's got it down. So, but the fact that she's, very hard on herself and want this perfection from coming from her, it really shows a lot of involvement in how Carmi had influenced all these people to work in that level of expectation and perfection. So I
Yeah.
like that whole scene there. But it
And
doesn't. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you're an executive chef. You've trained chefs, I'm sure, in
Yeah.
your line of work over time.
Oh yeah.
So this must have felt kind of close to you as you're training people, and you're like, here's a goal. I need you to. I'm setting this goal for you to try to get this dish out in a certain amount of time because for service, and you finally see
Yes.
them get that. How proud are you of them, right?
Oh
So
my gosh,
that had
yes.
to sit with you for a bit.
Sure did. I mean, there's a lot of characteristics of Carmi that is so me. And most of the time I question myself, maybe I am asking something inhumanly impossible. Like, maybe it cannot be done. But then I always say, but I did it. And then, you just don't know. Like, is it the lack of training or the investment that you put in people? But I came to this realization that it really depends on the person. You can train all you want, and if this person their heart is not in it, or they're doing it for reasons that are not the right reasons, they just won't get it. And so, but I see the frustration when Carmi, because he was yelling at Luca at one time, and he was doing that same thing, and he's a really good chef. But I guess what they were talking about in that episode too, because you're under pressure and you can never get it done if you are, and you just have to learn how to tune things out. Like, if I'm in the kitchen When I staged and worked at restaurants before I went to corporate, it was the same thing.
Mhm.
You just have to put blinders on. You cannot like look at other people. You just have to focus and listen to that ticket and the command of the chef that's in the expo line. Other than that, you will really fail. So that's why it's a rough, it's not a really easy environment to get involved in. A lot of emotional and technical things needs to be involved. I cannot imagine people being high working on the line when they say things like that, like drunk or high. It's like, how do you keep up with the orders? you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
it's a rough thing, but yeah, but seeing Luca there was fun. But also it kind of makes me think, why is he always there now? Like, is he going to be a mainstay? And is he replacing somebody? Like, that kind of gives me, I don't know, like, time.
Season 5 questions to come,
Jeez,
right?
I
So we'll
know,
see.
I know, I know.
So one standout scene for me in this episode is when Suge is talking to the computer, and you kind of
Mm,
see like throughout all the episodes, you see this sort of
yeah.
graph line starting in the red, moving into the green, and then finally now they're in the
Hmm.
black, and they're actually making a profit, uh, um,
Right.
uh, uh, a modest profit, but a profit. And so Suge and the computer talking, and Suge is like, "Look, we're doing well." He's like, "Yeah, you've made a lot of good changes to be profitable, but how long can you keep paying these people?"
Right.
And she's like, "Well, we can as long as we can continue to do this, then we'll be okay." And he's like, "But why would you want to?" Right? It's they're just barely keeping their head above water,
Right.
as being a profit, finally making a profit, but just kind of barely making a profit. And he asks
Right.
that question, and it just hangs in the air. Like, you could do this, but why? Why do you want to do
Right.
this? And so when I see and I hear about restaurateurs and chef owners that, running a restaurant is a razor thin margin, even at a corporate level like you guys.
Oh yeah.
It's very razor thin margins. Any little upset balance can tip you from being profitable to being not being profitable. And so when I look at people, or when I talk to people that are in the restaurant hospitality industry, they're doing it because they love it, and they're doing it because to them it's a calling. It's not to be necessarily
Right.
rich and famous, because that's a rarity. Like, you see a lot
Absolutely.
of quote unquote celebrity chefs, but that's not the norm. That's as much as Food Network would have you believe,
Right.
that is not the norm. So
No.
kind of when you saw that scene, um, did you kind of think like the computer, and like, why are you doing this? Like, at what point does this become like too much?
Everybody asks me that same question, and I can totally relate to how Sugar was feeling in that very moment. I do ask myself that, all the time, like, why are you doing this? It's a hard job. And the money's not really lucrative, to be quite honest. It will take years and years. And even if you get to that point, and if you do the real math, you're literally making $2 an hour with all of the efforts that you're putting in. Even if your base salary could be high, but the amount of stress and everyday struggles, is it worth it? And what's the question? I mean, the question is, why are you doing it? And they panned in the wall, right, with all the photos of everybody. And that's exactly my answer to everybody. I'm doing it because there are people there that really truly believes in the power of hospitality and what it brings to people's lives. And I know it sounds so cheesy, but it is the truth. You have to be in this industry for the right reasons. And if it's just for the money and the paycheck, it's not the job for you. You will burn out immediately, that's for sure. You will crash and burn. But for some reason, I find the beauty in this industry so well because I understand what I'm getting myself into, if that makes any sense. Like, I knew it wasn't. I mean, I struggled. I paid 10 years for my school, just because of the money that I was making and living in one of the most expensive places in the US. It doesn't make sense. Why would you do that to yourself? But it is something that you give out there that cannot be done, I guess, as we are easily giving it to the world as chefs or people in the industry of hospitality. It's a gift and you want to share it, and it's like, sometimes money is not the issue, but you're building a family within your realm and then you are exposing it to the world. I think that's very special. And it's instant gratification too. A
Yeah.
dish that you put out is make it or break it time. Like they said, it's the Super Bowl. It's every day's like the Super Bowl. That is really the standards that you need to, your daily mantra that you need to practice if you want to be successful in this industry.
Yeah.
You got to give it your all. There's no, yeah, maybe tomorrow. Because tomorrow is not promised. It could literally lose a restaurant overnight over some bad review.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, it's crazy to think about, like, just watching the show. They're coming in at 8 o'clock in the morning or earlier
yeah.
for deliveries and to prep, and then
Mhm.
service starts at like 5:30. Their last seating's probably 10, and then nobody ever leaves on time. And then they're cleaning
Right.
up and breaking down and cleaning up until midnight, 1 in the morning. And then you're back at it at 6 o'clock. Like you're
Yeah.
barely having time to sleep. So when
Yeah.
computer asks, but why do you want to, you could do this, but why? It's a much deeper question than
It
what he's
is.
presenting in terms of just the money. So I found that to be a very poignant scene in this
Yeah.
particular episode. But we close
Mhm.
out this particular episode. Shug tells Carmy, he's like, "Hey, you need to drop off some photos to your mom, to moms,"
Mhm.
and that is something that he's afraid to do because he doesn't know
Mhm.
how it's going to be. And then the episode ends with him knocking on the door. And then we
Right.
get right into episode 9, the penultimate episode. And this is basically more or less a bottle episode of him and his mom
Mm.
talking through everything. And what a great episode this was, um,
Yes.
of him seeking the approval of his mother for the past
Mhm.
3 seasons
Yep.
and just wanting to cook her a plate of food and not being able to. Like in the earlier season, she comes to the restaurant but doesn't go inside, right?
Right.
And then fishes, that happens.
Right.
So that basically drove him, away from the family, all that stuff. So he's come back, and now mom's working on her sobriety, and this is basically her making amends for the entire episode, which I found very beautiful.
Right.
um, and then he cooks her just the most beautiful roast
I
chicken dinner
know. I
that I've
know.
ever seen. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, where'd you learn to do this?" "Oh, French Laundry. We did it every day." What were your overall thoughts of this episode,
I
watching it
can tell
unfold?
you this is my most favorite episode out of all the seasons. This is such a powerful episode between Carmy and Dee Dee. It says a lot about really about the whole show, because it kind of originated as that and the family and just that particular segment where she was reading that letter. I think
Hmm.
it just really spoke about how she is. There's so much in this episode to absorb, and just watching Carney, he wasn't saying much, but he was holding back his tears, and you can tell
Oh
his
yeah.
whole life revolved around that particular moment and how he got to where he is and all the hurt, pain, suffering that he had endured. And I can just sense, and the fact that he was cooking that chicken, oh my gosh. And you can tell that the mom too, just kind of talking about the photos when they were going through the photo books. She was explaining that she has a really good memory, a sharp memory about everybody and the certain scenarios in her life. And she does not really forget, but because of whatever happened to them, like she said, I never said this or I never mentioned that when she was saying I love you. I never
Right.
said it. I never said it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was just too much. And when he said, "Oh, are you hungry? I'll make you something." That was to me. I watched that show or that episode, I think 4 times because of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I was
I
trying
mean,
to.
yeah, to cook a meal for someone is to show love.
Right.
And that's exactly what we were seeing here. Like, even if, like, the words weren't spoken, there was he was finally able to get to a place with his mom where there was some forgiveness there, and a way to move forward in their relationship with
Hmm.
her sobriety and him letting go of
Right.
so much emotional baggage,
Right.
and realizing that all the things that are happening in his life, he's he's part of that problem, right? Of him bottling all that stuff up and it coming out in the most
That's right.
inappropriate way.
Right.
Finally came to a resolution in this particular episode, and I found it to be just very, very beautiful, very cathartic for him, and watching it unfold. Jamie Lee Curtis is such a great actress.
Oh yeah.
She won an Emmy for her turn in Fishes, so I would not be
Hmm.
surprised if we see
I would
another
not
Emmy
be surprised. Yes,
nomination. Yeah. So just really,
I
really cool
love it.
stuff. Um,
Absolutely.
so some other things that happened in this episode I found kind of funny. Chester comes into the restaurant and kind of starts tripping all over himself when he sees Luca, which I thought was hilarious. And Luca's like, "Did I say something to upset him?" He's like,
I
"No, not at
know.
all, not at
I
all."
know. I thought that was because it was so heavy, right? Prior to that. I
Yeah,
was like, oh great, good turn of events there with the writing and all that stuff. But yeah,
yeah,
I thought that was funny too.
yeah. That was pretty funny. And then we get to the end here where Sid or Pete finally gets in touch with Sid and
Mm,
says, "Hey, have you looked over the updated agreement?" She's like, "No, I've been busy." And then he tells her what it is. And then we get to the end, the final episode, episode 10, which it skips service and goes straight to the end of service. I thought this was a brilliant episode to end this season. Um, Episode 10, Goodbye. It's essentially a one act play. A lot of people have been talking about this as like this one act play happening in one location, which is the back alley behind the restaurant. And
right,
it's 4 seasons of the main three characters, Richie, Carmy, and Sid. Um,
right,
4 seasons of just pent up, built up emotional constipation, all coming out at once. All the things that needed to be said between these three characters finally being said in this episode,
right,
in such a way to where they're yelling at each other, but not out of hatred, out of love. Like, I'm
right,
finally able to get this, to tell you this.
right,
Gosh, there's so many conversations happening. We have Carmy saying, "Look, the bear is good, but it'll never be great as long as
right,
I'm attached to it, and
right,
I have to detach myself. And I'm leaving this to you, Sid.
right,
You are the bear. You are everything I'm not. You're a better chef than
right,
me. You care. You can teach other people." And and then Richie comes in and Carmy tells him, "Look, I was at the funeral. I just didn't go in." And Richie just loses it. Like, how, why would you not tell me you were there? Just so many things going on.
right, right.
Um, just a great episode to end the season. What did you think?
Hmm. It's hard to watch for me. It was very depressing in the sense of I just felt like, okay, I get it. He was saying you're the bear. But I felt like throughout the whole entire season, I didn't really see the full extent of Carmy because things are always in the way, and then the restaurant building and all that good stuff. But then I thought, really? You're just gonna give up? I that's what I thought. Like, whoa, like, and then I started thinking, maybe he really just had that opportunity to use that as an escape of about what's going on in his life. He wanted to get out of Chicago or his neighborhood or whatever because of his mother and all that good stuff, and he thought one good thing, which is really what's going through the family. There are a bunch of good cooks. Food is the center of their lives, and he found that and he used that as a strength, but then that's probably not really what he wanted. So those are the things that are going through my head because I felt like, wow, you're almost there, like with the clock. I thought about, really, you're just going to give up? How do you know? Because he kept on saying, I'm setting you guys up for success. To me, I felt like, no, you're adding so much more stress. And I get where he's coming from when he said, Sydney, you're the bear, but then also he never let her cook until like what, the 2 days prior to that, when he just kind of retained the menu. And how do you know? I get it, she's not answering back to you, she's always trying to break everybody into like a common ground where they're not yelling and screaming. But then I feel like, I don't know, it was an easy way out, I felt like. And then kind of thinking also when he left Claire's house, when he called Pete, like, what did he tell him? Something about let's amend the contract or something like that. And then Richie coming in there, at first, yeah, let him leave. But there was that point where I started crying and I couldn't stop. Sydney was screaming and screaming, and then Richie walked in and she said, I don't know if you heard that, but she said, he's leaving us. And I thought, wow.
Yeah.
I started crying because I felt her pain and she was scared, you know and I'm like, oh my God, that was so, I just couldn't, like, even me thinking about it right now, I'm like, they need you there, Bear, why are you saying this stuff? And so then I don't know what was going through his head when he said that, you know?
Yeah, he feels like, and I can, like you were talking about, Sid didn't cook. And Carmy, the scallop dish this season was the
Yeah,
standout. Like that was talked about a
yeah.
lot. And then like
Mm-hmm.
in a previous season, it was her short rib and risotto that got a little
Mm-hmm.
write up back when it was
Yeah,
still the beef, right? But the reason why he didn't let her cook is because he's Carmy. He's there. He's got to
right,
control everything.
right.
So for Sid to shine and for the bear to be at its absolute
True.
best, he had to step away. And he learned this through talking with his mom and talking with Claire and
True.
he's finally realizing I'm the problem. And if I want things to be better all around, I have to take myself out of the equation. Now he did make it clear that he's not like leaving. He's just not going to be the owner of the restaurant. So at some point he is actually going to leave, but he's not leaving like
Right.
right then. He's
Yeah,
just not
this
going to
would be the
be
same.
he's just not going to be a managing partner, which we were talking about Luca. Does Luca then step into Carm's place and
Right,
and become Sid's sous chef essentially?
right,
So and then Richie getting a part of the restaurant, brought such joy to him because that's his home. He was never going to leave anyway. But
hmm,
knowing that he has a stake in it now is something that he's been working towards because of his journey through the episode and him becoming a better
right,
person,
right,
and culminating in being part owner of the bear. So for Carmy to realize all this about himself in this season, and really in the last few episodes of this season, I think is huge. Now, from a practical standpoint, if we're talking about the behind the scenes kind of thing, Jeremy Allen White's stock is just exploding. I mean, he is going to
I
be playing.
know.
He's in I think a Bruce Springsteen biopic coming out. He's going to have a lot of time doing other things. So this is an easy way for the
You
show.
think that's what it is?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is an easy way for the show to make
What do
him a
you think
special
without
guest
the,
star.
yeah, yeah. But what do you think? Is this show about everyone else or this is about Jeremy Allen White?
I
Like,
mean,
what do you think?
it started out to be about Jeremy Allen White,
Yeah,
right? It
yeah,
started out to be about Carm's journey of
right,
dealing with his brother's death and suicide,
right, right,
and then trying to turn this restaurant around. And then once he did turn the restaurant around, it became much more than that. It became about Marcus's growth as a
right,
person and as a pastry chef. It
right,
became about Sid's growth. It became
right,
about Tina's growth. It became about Richie's growth. All of those people. It
right,
became about the repairing of relationships of the
right.
family, as a whole. So it
But
became
I mean,
bigger than
like,
Carmy.
yeah, that's true. But for a TV viewer's point of view, right? Because I can never imagine The Sopranos without, and James Gandolfini is what
Oh,
I'm trying
right.
to say, I guess. Like, I know they're trying to derail it because, yeah, like you said, he's bigger than ever and he's doing all these movies and stuff like that. I just wonder for the TV viewers if they would still feel enticed to watch it without him being the chef because I thought at first he was the strongest pull and he was very much the attraction of
Yeah.
the show, right? And him not being the center, you know, character focus, and it'll be different. I don't know. It's really interesting to see, how they're gonna come back with the season 5 he's someone, a lot of people were saying maybe he will be a professor of culinary arts.
Oh God, no, no,
It's just
he
like,
could not
no.
teach in a classroom. No
I
way.
know, I know.
Uh,
I just cannot see him. I mean, his math is really bad. I mean, he's having a breakdown of, things in his head. Like yeah, I don't think he can. But I'm just, yeah, I don't know where they're gonna take us in season 5. But are you satisfied in that ending though? I mean, there's a lot of things that they had covered and things that are pent up that were brought to the table. But
yeah.
it's a sad episode. It's almost like an ending of an era, and it's like, why? Because
I
I binge watched this whole thing. I want
I know.
more.
I know. I watched. Okay, so I had finished watching all of season 4 before they announced it was renewed for season 5. So
Uh-huh.
when it ended the way it did, I was kind of like, "That's how you. That's how you're going to
Yeah,
end it." It was kind
yeah,
of like you brought up Sopranos, which is kind of ironic. It was kind of like how the Sopranos ended,
yeah.
just
Ended
fade
right.
to black, right?
Yeah, fade
Or
black.
just not
Yeah,
even fade to black. It was cut to black, and then that was
cut to
it.
black. Yep.
So I thought, okay, the timer's done. What's next? Right? They're
Right.
profitable now. Are we going to get a star? Like what's happening? Which I also found kind of interesting when they at the beginning, the very beginning part of this episode was like, what are we going to do to keep the restaurant open? And Carm says we go for a star. When in earlier seasons the star didn't matter. The Michelin star didn't
Yes.
matter, and now it matters
Yeah.
for the sake of the restaurant. So having that full circle moment. So before I knew season 5 was announced, I was a little upset that it ended the way it did. Like there was
Yeah.
no resolution other
Right.
than Carmy coming to the realization of how he needed to change as a person, which
Right.
is what we wanted to see,
Right.
because he was kind of a jerk, and I kind of
Yep.
wondered why Sid was hanging around for so long and why Richie was hanging around for so long.
Right.
But
Right.
Carmy made everyone better. As toxic as he was, he made people better. Um, so when it ended with the clock hitting 0 and then cut to credits, I was like, oh no, there's no new season. This is just up to our imaginations to see how this is going to play forward. So
Mm-hmm.
when they announced season 5, I'm kind of like you. What are we going to do now? So
Right.
because they're regulating Jeremy Allen White to probably special guest star, not going to be a season regular anymore.
Right.
So it's going to be Sid and Richie, which their stars are blowing up in
Mhm.
Hollywood too. So almost I feel like to the same level as Jeremy Allen White in terms of
Yeah.
what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing outside of the
Right. Right.
Bear. So then what does it become? Does is Luca going to be permanent? How is Marcus going to continue to grow? Is Tina going to play more of a bigger role in
Right.
the Bear? Is Ibrahim's um, second location of the Bear sandwich window
Right.
going to be
Right.
a point of conflict of you're watering
Mhm.
down the Bear brand, but we understand that you have to do this because it's the only profitable part of the restaurant there is right
Right.
now.
Right.
So it does leave a lot of questions open
For sure.
for a season 5, but I'm kind of glad they announced season 5. I It's got to be the last season to tie up
It's
all
got to be
those.
the
It's
last
got to be
season.
the last season
I
to tie
thought
up all
so
those
too.
loose ends.
Right, right.
Um,
Do you think
and
they're going to
hope.
get that star? I was
I
thinking
mean,
maybe that could be the center focal point of that whole show. I don't know. They were talking about it, and that I thought the last, the ending, the last episode would speak about that, but then I thought, okay, this is great too. They really want to get to that point where they're probably gonna pull him out, derail us a little bit, and say, he's starting a new life type of
yeah,
thing.
new
But yeah,
life, but yeah, I think they go for the star in season 5. So
yeah,
my prediction for season 5, the way it opens up is, I think it's going to be a time jump forward, and we start seeing less of Jeremy Allen White's character. He'll probably be there for the first episode,
yeah,
and it'll probably be kind of like, remember how season 3, episode 1 opened, and it was kind of like an episode length of previously on the Bear. It was just like
hmm,
all kind of showing what happened. I think it'll be that,
right,
but it'll explain what happened. It'll be a time jump episode, and then it's the Sid show. It's Sid's restaurant, and then how does she? Because she had some confidence issues. She knew she was
yep,
good, but she didn't feel like she was as good as Carmy kept
yeah,
saying she
that's correct.
was. So I
Hmm.
think you start seeing some growth in Sydney in terms of her confidence. Can she run a restaurant on her own? Can she do it without Carmy being there to support her in a culinary sense? Does Richie continue to be the superstar front of house? Do him and Jess get together? Because we saw
Mm.
that in these last three
Right,
episodes, them
right, right,
making
right,
googly eyes towards each other.
right.
So do we see a growth in that relationship? Does Marcus talk to his dad? Does
There's a
Luca
lot
stick
of hanging,
around? There's a lot of
yeah,
hanging threads. So I
yeah,
think
hanging
that's
threads, yeah,
the prediction for season 5 is how do all those get tied together. So um
right.
hoping in June of next year we get another 10
Ah,
episode drop, right? And
yeah,
we
yeah,
get through it. But yeah, I think we covered it. This was a great another great season of The Bear. I
right.
thought it was better than season 3. Had some kind of some weird moments. I thought the wedding was like you. I found the wedding scene to be just a little too convenient for
Right,
everything,
right,
but
right.
had to get them in there.
Yeah.
But overall, what did you think of this season? What are you looking forward to in a season 5?
I want a little bit more action, I feel like.
So
Like
more in the kitchen.
more in the kitchen action, more of speaking up, kind of advocating for yourself type of thing. And I want to see Sydney's character grow so much more, like, for her to advocate for herself, because now I feel like, this is a great opportunity for her. Carmi's leaving the restaurant, or semi leaving, whatever, all of it's a big responsibility. And I want to see a woman chef out there. And a lot of people look up to this show. And
Yeah.
and being a woman chef, I can totally relate. And I think, I'm very excited for her character. I want to see what she's going to do. And she's not all by herself, like Richie, like their relationship had evolving after that, her stabbing him and all
Yeah,
that. They hated
that's
each
right.
other, right? And now that is, her biggest support system, Richie. And Richie has a really good heart for hospitality. you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
he knows he's a people person, and that's very important. So for people that are viewing it as, a professional in the industry, I'm pretty sure they could agree with me in that sense. But that they're
I think what you've inspired me to do is to binge watch it from season 1, episode 1 again, and do all 4 seasons like in a
yeah,
row,
right.
just
Oh
to
man,
have that feeling, of
yeah.
the roller coaster, of the ups and downs
Oh
of how these
damn.
characters have evolved
Oh yeah.
individually over the course of 4 episodes.
Absolutely.
So
The writing, you can see the involvement of the writing too.
yeah,
Christopher Store, yeah.
yeah.
It's crazy. He's married to Tiffany in real
Oh,
life.
is it? Oh, I
I
didn't know
thought
that.
so. Google it, but I thought I did, but she's an actress too, and I think they are together.
Oh,
Something like
okay.
that, kind of like Game of Thrones, like she's their director is married to another actress. But yeah, they're all in the same realm of things. I started googling them, every individual actor in the show, and it's so nice to see the success the show brought to, each and every one of them.
Yeah,
What a great thing for them. I can only imagine how happy they are, and their
yeah.
families.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, yeah.
W- One development I think would be interesting to see in a season 5 is, in all four seasons, unlike regular TV, there wasn't like there wasn't like a bad guy, sort of, so to speak, an
Yeah,
antagonist
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
in The
yeah.
Bear. They were all kind of each other's antagonists.
That's
I would
true.
love to see like like Shapiro's character in season 5 kind of becoming the heavy, the big bad of like
Oh, that could be
him
their
opening his
competition.
restaurant and him being bitter. That's it. Like, how dare you turn me down? Do you not understand what I was offering you? And then like
I
kind of see
love
that
that ending.
competition
Yeah.
coming together, and see how the team at the Bear coalesces against this outside force,
Oh my.
which would
Yeah,
be
that would
because
be a good one.
yeah,
You
because now
know?
everybody's in a good place. Like you were saying, like Richie and Sid are in a good place. Natalie is doing well with her kid, and the restaurant's starting to make some money. And even with Ibrahim opening up a second Bear beef sandwich window, it would be interesting to see how that team comes together when an outside force like Shapiro comes in and is like, I'm taking you down. I'm gonna start poaching. I'm
Absolutely.
gonna poach your front of house people.
I
I'm
love
gonna
that.
so we'll see what happens.
That is the show I'm waiting for. I want something like that,
Yeah, we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
That's
Well,
cool.
Yeah. So Chef Abbie, we did it. We covered all 10
We sure
episodes.
did. Thank
It
you. What a
was
fun
it was a
ride.
fun
I
time.
love this. Yes, absolutely. What a great show to cover. What an honor. Thank you, Rich. And yeah,
Yeah.
can't wait till next year.
I know. I want to thank you so much for your time. I know it was a time sink to binge all 4 seasons
Oh,
and
yeah.
to talk about it for an hour a few times
No
a week.
regret. No regret.
Um,
I'm so
but it,
happy this came into play. I mean, I
yeah,
wouldn't have done it if it wasn't, important, but now it's like, wow, I was missing out, definitely. So thank you.
thank you. So I want to give you a couple of minutes here at the end just to promote anything you got going on. I know school's kind of starting up in the next few weeks, I'm sure, but anything you did say, I think one time you said it's open to the public. So are there any
Yes.
things that the public can know about? Where can they follow you on socials, et cetera, et
For
cetera?
sure, for sure. I am on social media under Chef Marie Abigail. Whenever you guys are in Berkeley, California, touring for school or what have you, we are open to the public. We serve 7 days a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you can bring your whole family. We serve international cuisine, cooked from scratch with so much love from all my cooks and me. We change our menu every single day. It's a fun and exciting place. This is a historical landmark here in Berkeley, the International House. We were founded based on immigrants that are not, very comfortable living here and finding the food that they love to eat. And so that's how the International House was founded. So I'm very proud of that. We will be open fall semester August 18th, but we never close. So whenever you guys are here, just say hi, stop by and eat limitless amount of food. Yeah, it's a buffet, but we do put out good stuff. So yeah,
Awesome.
very
I'll definitely
excited.
check it out. I'll definitely check
Yeah,
it out if
yeah,
ever in the
definitely,
Berkeley
for
area.
sure. Yeah, for sure. Bring your family and all that
Awesome.
good stuff.
Awesome.
But yeah, well, thank you, Rich. Thank you so
Th-
much for the
Thank you so
opportunity. I
much.
really
Yeah.
enjoyed this. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. I'm so glad you found the time to do it, and I appreciate you. And hopefully we'll do it again soon.
For sure. Okay.